The Big Ten Network. Speed. Fuel TV. FoxSports.com. Fox Soccer. FSN. And Fox Sports. The greatest collection of sports properties in the world.
We are Fox Sports! As we head into the final weeks of the regular season, teams are starting to punch their tickets into baseball's playoff party.
For the 5th straight year, the Phillies will go to the postseason.
And last night in Oakland, the Detroit Tigers became baseball's first division champs, clinching the Central.
The Tigers have done it. Let the party begin.
And it's been a massacre in Boston. But last night, the Sox came through with their biggest win of the season.
He struck him out. Huge win for the Red Sox tonight.
Today, the Red Sox look to fight off the division rival Tampa Bay Rays in a season-defining series. And don't look now, but the Braves' lead in the NL Wild Card is down to 3.5 games over the resurgent Cardinals. But Atlanta looks to extend that lead as the division rival Mets come to town. It's September baseball, and playoff races are coming down to the wire. All the action is right here on Fox.
Welcome to the Chevrolet pregame show on Fox. There's a chill in the New England air as things have definitely heated up lately in the wild card chase. The Red Sox nation breathing a bit easier after last night's win. Boston with a 4-game edge over Tampa Bay and 5 over the Angels. And also they're right on the heels of the Yankees in the AL East chase as well. Hi everybody, welcome to Boston. I am Chris Rose and this is Fox Saturday Baseball. Coming your way in just a few minutes. Most of you will stay right here at Fenway Park to see if the Rays can chip away at the Red Sox edge in the AL wild card. Speaking of the wild card, do you see what's happening over in the National League? The Braves lost their series opener to David Wright and the Mets last night. He clobbered 2 homers, drove in 5. So you couple that with the Cards win in Philly on Friday, and now Atlanta's lead is down to just 3.5 games. And don't sleep on the defending champion Giants. They have won 6 in a row, and at least they're still in the discussion. Well, baseball's first division champ this season, the Detroit Tigers. Doug Fister, outstanding again last night out in Oakland. Don Kelly provided a little pop. And the all-star closer, Jose Valverde, now 45-45 in save opportunities. It's the Tigers' first division crown since winning the AL East in '87. And the moment was not lost on Jim Leland, who knows the importance of victory to the city of Motown.
I come from a big family. My dad was a factory worker. I know all about stuff like that, worrying about getting laid off and stuff. So I have a great appreciation for that. And it means so much to me. But I think during times like this, a sports team can uplift your spirits. And I hope that we've lifted up the spirits of our fans in Detroit because they deserve it.
Well, this afternoon, Miguel Cabrera and the Tigers, they still have something to play for against the A's. They're only 3 back of New York for the best record in the American League. Speaking of the Yankees, they were hard at work north of the border against the Toronto Blue Jays this afternoon, trying to increase that 3.5-game lead they have over the Red Sox in the AL East. Welcome back, A-Rod, back after missing 6 games with a sprained left thumb. And how's it look? Just fine, thanks. A 3-run crank is 16th of the year, gets the Yanks within 1. But then, how about a year Curtis Granderson's having? A 2-run shot, his 40th of the season, gives New York the 7-6 lead. They turn it over to Mariano Rivera. Save number 601 to tie Trevor Hoffman for the most in baseball history. The Yankees' lead in the AL East is now 4 games, and look at Mo. Smooth as always. For more news and notes, we welcome in Ken Rosenthal, senior writer from FoxSports.com. And let's start right here at Fenway Park. Things are looking fine in the wild card chase for the Red Sox, but what about the Red Cross, the health update on them?
Well, Chris, both Eric Bedard and Clay Buchholz threw bullpen sessions today. They're hoping that Bedard is getting close, and Buchholz, they're not ruling him out for the bullpen in the postseason. Kevin Youkilis, no idea what they will get from him, if anything, the rest of the way. And finally, Adrian Gonzalez. He told me today that he is having problems with his surgically repaired right shoulder. It's tired, it's weak, it's robbing him of power to the opposite field.
All right, the wildcard leaders in the National League, the Atlanta Braves, dealing with health issues as well, Kenny.
Yes, Tommy Hanson threw a bullpen today. It went well, and they need him. Derek Lowe, awful again last night. ERA since the All-Star break, over 6. If the playoffs started right now and the Braves were in, their top 3 starters, Chris, would be Tim Hudson and 2 rookies, Brandon Beachy and Mike Minor.
Ken Rosenthal will continue to read your work on FoxSports.com, and we'll catch you during the Red Sox and the Rays right here on Fox. Coming up next, we're going to get you out to the yard. It is a must-win situation for Joe Madden and his Rays against Boston. Some of you see the AL Central champion Tigers take on Oakland. The rest of you get the NL wildcard leading Atlanta Braves and the New York Mets. We'll get you out to your game next on Fox.
Baseball in Boston. Fox Saturday Baseball welcomes you to Fenway Park for a crucial matchup between a pair of wild card hopefuls, the Tampa Bay Rays and the Boston Red Sox. Boston and Tampa Bay have split the first 2 of this crucial 4-game series. The Red Sox lead the Rays by 4 with just 12 games remaining. And welcome inside the press box here at Fenway Park. Matt Vasgersian. Under 2 weeks left in the regular season, and fall has come early in New England, not just in regards to the weather cooling off, but in regards to the postseason atmosphere here at Boston this weekend. As I welcome Tim McCarver to the telecast. And Tim, the math would suggest that while this is an important series for both teams, of course, it's perhaps a little more important for the team doing the chasing, the Tampa Bay Rays.
Yeah, it's interesting that baseball players are programmed to take one game at a time. How many times have you heard that? Well, things change at this time of year with only 12 games left to play. The Rays are playing the Red Sox 2 more times today and tomorrow. Make no mistake about it, this is a very, very big game.
The pressure is on in Boston. Red Sox trying to avoid a September collapse, while the Rays try to become the first team to ever overcome a 9-game September deficit to play in the postseason. Some good fortune and raw power drew the Rays closer Thursday, while the Sox finally answered last night behind a strong night on the mound. A pivotal game with postseason implications. Lineups in the opening pitch next. Last vestiges of summer departed, probably 10 or so days ago. A coolish afternoon for baseball. We're glad to have you with us. Let's take a look at the Taco Bell starting lineup for Joe Maddon and the visiting Tampa Bay Rays. Desmond Jennings, one of the three rookies. He'll start tonight. He's in left field leading off. B.J. Upton and Evan Longoria have gotten red hot down the stretch. They bat second and third this afternoon. The switch-hitting second baseman Ben Zobrist in the cleanup spot. Ex-Red Sox Johnny Damon DHs batting number 5. Sean Rodriguez, another ex-Red Sox Casey Kochman, Brandon Geyer, and Jose Lobaton round things out for Joe Maddon's Rays. Well, on the mound for the Boston Red Sox, the ace of the staff, if you will, at least ace 1A behind Josh Beckett. John Lester looking for his 16th winner of the year here this afternoon as we take a look at the Sprint pitcher profile.
John, a real money pitcher, as you said, Matt, along with Josh Beckett. A front door and a back door cutter. We'll explain that as we go along. And he's going to try to bounce back from last Sunday's bad outing against Tampa Bay down in St. Petersburg. 4 innings, 111 pitches, and was tagged with the loss.
Opening pitch brought to you by Budweiser. Great times are waiting. Grab some buds. We are underway at Fenway Park. Desmond Jennings, B.J. Upton, Evan Longoria for the upstart Tampa Bay Rays. Well, for John Lester, he's making back-to-back starts, Tim, against the same opponent for the first time since 2008. And in fact, last time around against these Tampa Bay Rays, Terry Francona will be the first to tell you, he was not John Lester. That was on Sunday in St. Petersburg. 4 earned runs on 8 hits over just 4 innings. Took a loss, part of a horrible series for the Red Sox, one that has opened this wild card race up to what it is now. The Rays sweeping 3 at home against Boston. And as we mentioned, this is game 3 of a 4-game set here at Fenway Park. Kurt Young among those hoping for better results from his left-hander this afternoon.
Wow, 4 straight balls from the normally reliable John Lester, reliable in the strike zone. Those balls, none were close.
Terry Francona putting the sweatshirt on early, going to the Bill Belichick playbook right out of the gate here on a crisp afternoon in Boston. So here is B.J. Upton now. And Lester will have the speed of Desmond Jennings to contend with. Upton, as we mentioned, has really gotten hot down the stretch. And he is one of the Rays, reminding folks down in Tampa St. Pete about how Tampa got it done in 2008. Bunting. Jennings to second with 1 away. And as hot as B.J. Upton has been down the stretch, there is no Ray, perhaps no American leaguer, hotter right now than Evan Longoria. He's had a terrific series so far, homering on Thursday in the opener, part of a lopsided win for Tampa Bay. And then in the first inning last night, as a part of a loss, got to Josh Beckett with a man on.
And Joe Maddon telling us before the game that his lineup is centered around Evan Longoria and what Longoria can offer in the way of run production. More RBIs than anybody in baseball since early June 11th to be exact.
Chance for him early to put the Rays on the board this afternoon. 1 out runner at second as John Lester and the Red Sox just get settled in here today.
Matt, normally you would not pitch around a runner or a hitter in the first inning. But with Longoria swinging the bat as well as he has been swinging it, I don't think you'll see anything good to hit.
Ball and a strike, the count to Evan Longoria. Part of what Joe Maddon does, Tim, and you mentioned the Rays manager a moment ago, is to try to maximize his lineup not only around his superstar, which is clearly Evan Longoria, but to try to do just that, manage as much as he can. He said many times this year, we are not built to go toe-to-toe and try to outslug the giants in the division, the Red Sox and the Yankees. As such, he has used a lot of different lineup combinations this year as Longoria takes a strike to fall behind 1 and 2.
That's crack analysis, huh? After saying that Longoria would not get a good pitch to hit, 2 straight strikes.
Well, we're right on it today.
From Lester. Right on it, baby.
Ball and 2 strikes to Longoria with Jennings off a second. 2 balls and 2 strikes. This lineup would be lineup permutation number 120 for the Tampa Bay Rays. 120 lineups in 150 games. Critics say it's hard to play like that, but Joe's defenders, and I think he's got more of those than he does otherwise.
He's got 2 up here, I know that.
Indeed. They would suggest that's how you win in these challenging economic times. Not to borrow a cliche from the news channels, but the Rays can't go outspend like the Red Sox and the Yankees and some other teams in baseball.
So therefore they can't have a set lineup like for the most part the Red Sox have. Jacoby Ellsbury's going to bat first. Pedroia's going to bat second. Gonzalez third. And he'll flip-flop Youkilis and Ortiz will Terry Francona. But the Rays do not have that luxury.
2 balls and 2 strikes. The count to Evan Longoria. He pokes that back up the middle. Pedroia had him shaded properly. And a good defensive alignment by the Red Sox prevents a run from scoring there at 2 away.
Well, Pedroia was that close to second because he was trying to hold the runner on. As we look at a sequence, the curveball, the best pitch he had to hit was that 1-0 pitch. The 1-1 pitch is in there for a strike. And then Lester misses. And then he fouls one off. And watch the pitch he has to handle. Way off the plate. And Pedroia makes a nice play, but primarily because he was staying close to second base to hold Jennings close.
So a 2-out runner at third now, and it'll be up to Ben Zobrist, the switch hitting second baseman today, batting in the cleanup spot. He takes a strike. Zobrist has been very productive of late, having driven in 8 over his last 9 games. Ben has reserved his best work for the road, where he hits almost 100 points higher than down at Tropicana Field this year. A ball and a strike to Ben Zobrist. You see the rather exaggerated splits, and nobody's ever called Tropicana Field a difficult place to hit, but Ben Zobrist certainly has found it that way this year.
Yeah, it's difficult for the visiting team, but not for the home team.
It's a good example of what we talked about just a moment ago, how Joe Maddon has tweaked his lineup day to day. Yesterday he had Casey Kochman protecting Longoria. Today it's Zobrist who swings and sends a high drive into the corner and left. If that ball stays fair, it's gone. Fair, gone. 2-run home run for Ben Zobrist, and the Rays have jumped on the scoreboard early this afternoon.
Almost exactly an exact replica of the ball hit by Longoria last night. It hit the top of the monster, as this ball does by Ben Zobrist. Top of the monster, bounces back with the help from a fan, and the Rays, as they did last night, take a 2-0 lead here in the first inning.
Here is former Boston favorite Johnny Damon, who after leaving Boston a few years ago returns to mixed response here at Fenway Park. And of course, after a 2-run home run to put the Red Sox behind, you hear those raspberries a little louder when Damon's name is announced. Already 2-0 Tampa Bay. 16th of the year for Ben Zobrist. And Damon taps that pitch foul.
Here are the 2 home runs last night on a curveball from Josh Beckett. Hits the top of the wall. Does the ball hit by Longoria? And then today, the ball hits the top of the monster. 37 feet high. 2 home runs in 2 nights in the top of the first inning by the Rays.
Of course, that comes right after our very thorough discussion about how the Rays are unable to outslug their opponents and line up toe-to-toe. 0 for 2 so far today, partner. Rays very good when scoring first, as these numbers indicate. And they're off to a good strong start here this afternoon. 2 outs into the ball game, on top 2-0. The 1-2 to Johnny Damon. Missed in, did Lester, not by the widest of margins. 2-2.
We talked about that front door cutter in the scouting report. That's it right there. It's a pitch that Lester tries to throw inside. A left-handed hitter has a tendency to give up on that pitch. Another one. And Damon did give up on it, and Lester wanted that, and you can't blame him. That looked like a strike.
Look at the body language on John Lester here after he does not get the call on 2-2.
Once again, that's a front door cutter by Lester.
So it goes to a full count to Johnny Damon. Sean Rodriguez waiting on deck, and the payoff pitch home from Lester is popped up. Saltalamacchia flips the mask and makes the play. Not before the Rays have opened with a 2-run home run for the second straight afternoon in Boston. With early, quite possibly, checking Terry Francona's Taco Bell starting lineup card for the Boston Red Sox. 2011 All-Star and MVP candidate Jacoby Ellsbury leads things off. Dustin Pedroia, Adrian Gonzalez, and David Ortiz 2 through 4. Josh Reddick will bat in the 5 spot this afternoon in right field. The switch-hitting catcher Jared Saltalamacchia 6th. Longtime Ray Carl Crawford in left field batting number 7. Mike Aviles and Marco Scutaro round things out for the Red Sox. Well, Jeff Neiman out there to make start number 22 on the year. The tallest starter in Major League Baseball at 6'9" tall. And according to the Sprint pitcher profile, what more on the Rays right-hander?
Only 5 hits and 17 innings of work this year. That spike curveball is interesting, and we'll talk about it. And it's pretty easy to say this is the biggest game of Jeff Neiman's career.
Jeff was terrific last time around in Baltimore. Pitched into the 8th inning and earned the Rays' only win in that 3-game series. Jacoby Ellsbury will begin the process of trying to come back early on for Boston. And Neiman's first pitch of the day is in for strike 1. Ellsbury just 1 for 8 so far in the series. And he is one of a number of high-profile Red Sox who has struggled this year against Rays pitching.
That's that spike curveball we were talking about. He holds 1 finger on it. It's an odd pitch, but very, very effective, says Jim Hickey, the pitching coach of the Rays.
A strike to put Ellsbury behind 1-2. Not only has Jeff Neiman been good in his last turn, he's been very good this year in 2 previous starts against the Boston Red Sox. And a called strike 3 taken by Ellsbury.
Good fastball in under the hands, right on the corner to get Ellsbury. Tailing fastball and a beauty.
One gone now for Dustin Pedroia, 2 for 7 so far in the series. And the three-time All-Star falls behind 1-2. Talking about how good, Tim, Jeff Neiman has been against Boston. He's made 2 starts against the Red Sox this year, a win and a no decision. But he's held the Red Sox to a .089 batting average over those 2 starts. Kept the Red Sox 5 for 56 as the fastball catches Pedroia for a strike. That is one of the most dominant single season pitching lines against the Red Sox in the last number of years. I mean, you've got to go back to the 1970s and 1980s to find guys like Andy Messersmith and Mark Littell, who had a handful of good starts in the same season against Boston that could compare favorably to what Neiman has done to this lineup this year.
And in both of those starts against the Red Sox, he has struck out 10 in each start.
He's got Pedroia in front, 1-2. Still a ball and 2 strikes. It should be noted that the Red Sox at this point and their September troubles have been well documented, certainly locally, are certainly not at 100% health. And you'll notice the absence of Kevin Youkilis in the lineup today. And that's a second straight miss for one of the offensive leaders of this team, who's dealing with a variety of different health issues. A sports hernia, one which will require surgery at the end of the season. Back, hip, you name it, and it's given Yuka a hard time here down the stretch. 2 balls and 2 strikes to Dustin Pedroia, and he's hanging around.
Talked about it many times before. Pedroia and Ellsbury, the 2 top hitters in baseball with 2 strikes.
Rookie catcher Jose Lobaton on the same page with Neiman, who will deal once again on 2-2. Sharply hit to third. A good play by Evan Longoria, and the 2-time Gold Glover gets his man. There are 2 away. So that'll bring in Adrian Gonzalez. And even though Gonzalez is able to play and has been able to play down the stretch, you can include his name in those that aren't quite 100%. FoxSports.com's Ken Rosenthal with a little more. Kenny.
Well, Matt, he had that left calf strain earlier in the week, but he told me today that that is fine. What's giving him problems is that surgically repaired right shoulder. Adrian said to me that it's tired, it's weak, it's robbing him of power to the opposite field. He has only 1 home run the other way over the last 3 weeks.
Yeah, Kenny, thanks. That's a very powerful bit of statistical information there. As you can see, the Rays overload the right side of the infield against Gonzalez. And perhaps that would have been easier for Adrian to counter if the shoulder was at 100%. Leading baseball in batting average and hits. Certainly not a one-trick pony. It's not just a matter of pulling everything into the pull field for Adrian. He can hit to the opposite field with the best of them when healthy.
One of the reasons why the Red Sox signed him, because of the short porch in left field.
Tried to check his swing on the appeal. They say he did in fact swing the bat. A couple of strikeouts in a 1-2-3 bottom of the first for Jeff Neiman. On to the second. 2-0 Tampa Bay. By Taco Bell, think outside the bun. And by the makers of New Bayer Advanced Aspirin, the official pain reliever of Major League Baseball. Aerial coverage this afternoon provided by DirecTV. To get the best offer of the year, call 1-800-DIRECTV. Back with Tim McCarver, Matt Vasgersian at historic Fenway Park, where there are some anxious bodies in seats these days.
Oh, yeah. David
Ortiz was quick to point out the difference between the terms worry and panic earlier this week, as Sean Rodriguez leads things off in the visitors' half of the second and sends a fly ball out to X-Ray Carl Crawford. There's one away. Still a 4-game lead for Boston with 12 to play. As you look at the crew working this afternoon's contest, Jerry Lane, the crew chiefs at first. Brian Knight has balls and strikes. Certainly Hunter Wendelstedt, who had home plate yesterday, had his name in the paper an awful lot this morning in regards to all the strikeouts yesterday. 15 Rays down on strikes a night ago, a season high. There's Casey Kochman now. And sure, it was talked about yesterday, but when you and I met with Joe Madden earlier today, Tim, he at no point even hinted that there was a lingering frustration or that he was going back to relive any problems with the strike zone last night.
That's true. Joe did not bring it up, nor did we, and carry on. Joe was run from last night's game for arguing balls and strikes and automatic ejection for a manager.
It's back to John Lester, and there are 2 quick outs here in the second.
You know what I have thought for years, Matt, a lot of hitters only have a view from never has a view that an umpire has. A hitter's only view is with the bat in his hand when he's looking down at the strike zone. I've often thought, and I brought this up to Charlie Manuel, the terrific manager of the Phillies, and he agreed with it. I think hitters should sit on a stool in spring training behind home plate and see what an umpire sees. Because with the bat in his hand, you never see home plate or the ball passing by home plate like an umpire sees it. And it gives you a little better idea of how an umpire sees it.
Nothing to Brandon Guyer.
Just a thought. And Charlie Manuel said, yeah, I mean, that is a point.
As an exercise, if nothing further.
Well, yeah, that's right. I mean, the only guy who sees the pitch like an umpire sees it is a catcher.
Oh, and 2 the count to Brandon Guyer. And a wave and a miss. John Lester bounces back with a quick 1-2-3 second. David Ortiz has had a big series so far for the Red Sox. He'll lead off when we go to the bottom half of the second. Brought to you by Budweiser. Great times are waiting. Grab some buds. Chilly afternoon in New England. Timmy, what fall arrived in about 90 minutes on Thursday.
It did after a heavy downpour.
David Ortiz will begin the process in the second for Boston. Ortiz, Reddick, and Saltalamacchia against Jeff Neiman, who struck out 2 of the 3 he faced in the first. David's had a good series, 4 for 6. And certainly a welcome sign for the Red Sox, as back spasms had him out of the lineup earlier in the week. And with the relative health affair of the Boston Red Sox being what it is, this is a man they simply can't do without down the stretch. Two balls and no strikes to the 7-time All-Star David Ortiz.
Joe Maddon's thinking David Ortiz, 2 RBIs his first 2 times up last night, were the 2 biggest hits for the Red Sox. Guy who lifted the Red Sox out of their malaise as the Red Sox beat the Rays, winning only their 2nd game in the last 10 days.
The 2-0 pitch is grounded foul. The Rays have done a good job all year long at really neutralizing the big threats in this Boston lineup. Take a look at the comparisons for Ellsbury, Gonzalez, Ortiz, and Crawford as to what they've done against the Rays staff between what they've done versus the rest of the league. Talking about 120 points for David Ortiz in particular. And it goes beyond just those 4 players. This is really an unbelievable number. The Rays have held the Red Sox this year to a 184 batting average. Since 1946, the lowest the Red Sox have ever batted versus one opponent in one season had been 204 against a very good 1966 Orioles staff. That's how good this Rays staff has handled Boston this year. Next week on Fox Saturday Baseball, the race for the postseason heads into the stretch run, as most of you will see the biggest rivalry in the game. These Red Sox in New York to take on the American League Eastern Division Yankees, and a possible ALCS preview or other games with postseason implications. Next week's telecast of Fox Saturday Baseball, presented by Chevrolet, begins at 4 Eastern, 1 Pacific. Check local listings for the game and start time in your area. The Rays trying to prevent it from being just the usual suspects emerging from the AL East. Here's Josh Reddick now, the rookie right fielder. Reddick hitless so far in the 2 games that have been played in this 4-game set, 0 for 6. And getting all kinds of opportunity to play because J.D. Drew, the veteran right fielder, has been on the shelf for much of the 2011 season. Three balls and no strikes from Jeff Neiman.
Chris Rose telling us before the game that the Yankees won their game. Alex Rodriguez with a 3-run home run. So technically the Red Sox 4 back, the Rays 8 back in the American League East. And the Yankees, after tomorrow, after they play Toronto tomorrow, only have the Rays and the Red Sox over the next 10 days of the season. 7 with the Rays, 3 with the Sox next weekend.
Yeah, so much for the postseason race not being compelling. I think whatever baseball detractors were trying to throw that line around the last couple of weeks have been sorely mistaken.
Yeah, you're right.
Great race in the AL wild card between these 2 clubs. A good race in the AL West between the Rangers and Angels.
And the wild card in the National League, the St. Louis Cardinals only 3.5 behind the Atlanta Braves, who are hosting the Mets this afternoon.
Red Sox have their first base runner of the afternoon. Josh Reddick draws the base on balls. So now Jared Saltalamacchia, the switch hitting catcher who has put up career numbers across the board offensively. 16 home runs, 55 driven in. Saltalamacchia, like Reddick, hitless so far in the series. It is the Rays, as Neiman's in for a strike to Saltalamacchia, who have made this wild card race compelling. And you could say it's the Rays that have made the entire postseason picture compelling. This is a team that went 8-1 at one point down the stretch recently to pick up 6 games in 10 days and make it a race for the AL wild card. In fact, Tim, it looked as though when the Rays were at their hottest here that they would just blow Baltimore right off the road and stay hot to get into this series that began here on Thursday. Instead, Baltimore ruined the plan. They took 2 out of 3.
Matt Wieters ruined the plan. He is red hot, the catcher, the switch hitter for the Orioles. They come into Boston, by the way, when the Rays leave tomorrow. After the Rays leave tomorrow.
See those pitching numbers since August 8th. It has been the staff that has really keyed the comeback for the Rays. Still 0-2 to Saltalamacchia. It's a team that was 10 games behind New York in the AL wildcard race back on August 7th. Red Sox were in first place on that day. But since that time, it's been a completely different story. Still 0-2. The count to Jared Saltalamacchia. Carl Crawford waiting on deck. I mean, this is how good the pitching has been for the Rays to make this a race. During the 37-game stretch that they've effectively gotten back in it, they've held their opponents to 2 runs or less in 21 of those 37 games. And if you're asking your offense to score only 3 runs a night, you're thinking you've got a pretty good chance to win. Pitching coach Jim Hickey would agree. Still 0-2. Neiman rather concerned with Josh Reddick at first. He's stolen 1 bag in 3 attempts. Off the plate to Saltalamacchia, 1-2. You know, you might say at first glance that without Kevin Youkilis, without Jed Lowry, it might be a little easier to negotiate this Red Sox lineup. But they keep coming at you with players like Mike Aviles, who may have a chance to bat this inning, who was the game winner yesterday. Snap throw down to first base, made it very close. Reddick is back in time.
If you're the runner at first base, you're shielded by the left-handed batter, and a lot of times you can't see the catcher getting in a throwing position. Snap throw by Lobaton. Reddick back.
So 2 balls and 2 strikes to Jared Saltalamacchia.
Curveball here. It's that spike curve.
And another check in at first base. You know, you can say this too, Tim, about the Rays' opportunity here. Their chances to get right back in this thing and make this strong push. That the schedule makers cooperated. Of the Rays' final 14 games, they get the Red Sox and Yankees in 11 of those 14. On the ground, that's Longoria at the shortstop spot. The Rays were in the shift, and it didn't really matter as Longoria starts the double play to get Jeff Neiman out of the inning. We'll return to Fenway after a word from your local Fox station. has lifted the Rays to an early 2-0 lead this afternoon in Boston. Back with Tim McCarver, Matt Vasgersian. Jose Lobaton leads things off in the visitors' third. Top of the order, Desmond Jennings and B.J. Upton next. Well, John Lester walked the leadoff hitter Desmond Jennings. And then after a sacrifice and a ground ball, Zobrist got to him with the long ball. 4 in a row retired since then for the Red Sox left-hander. Top of the order, Desmond Jennings waiting on deck next. John Lester has been blessed this year with a whole lot of run support, and you can say that of a couple of Boston starters this year. But the only pitcher in the American League that's gotten better run support than John Lester is the Rangers' Derek Holland. Red Sox average over 7 runs a game for Lester this year. He's fallen behind Jose Lobaton, 3 balls and a strike.
And that's not to imply that the reason John Lester has won 15 games was because he had run support, because his earned run average right around 3. So it's really the perfect match for Lester. A lot of run support and a low ERA. That means a good record, and he has one. And those are the reasons.
Full count now, 3 balls and 2 strikes to Jose Lobaton. Numbers have gotten better down the stretch for John Lester. And a called strike 3 taken by Lobaton. Time to check in with Chris Rose for a DirecTV game break.
Matt, you guys were talking about it earlier. Yanks erase a 6-1 deficit north of the border. A-Rod, a 3-run crank, his 16th of the year. But the big news, Mariano Rivera. Career save number 601 to tie Trevor Hoffman for the all-time lead. Yankees win at 7-6 and now lead the Red Sox by 4 in the AL East. Remember to see every baseball game, the most in HD. It's 1-800-DIRECTV. Matt?
Chris, thanks. Here's Desmond Jennings now with 1 gone. Yeah, the resume is complete, Tim. I don't think there's any question about his Cooperstown candidacy. 643 all-time saves when you count those in the postseason, which ironically do not count on the quote all-time list.
Best relief pitcher in the history of the game. It's out of a lot of guys.
Hot shot into the corner and left, pass to Vilas. It'll rattle around for Crawford on his way into second. His replacement, Desmond Jennings, who has a 1-out double here in the third.
Desmond Jennings came to the Rays on July 23rd, and he has done nothing but impress. Out of Birmingham, Alabama, went to Pinson Valley High down in Birmingham, and he is some player. You're going to hear a lot about Desmond Jennings before his career is out.
Here's B.J. Upton now with Jennings in scoring position for the second time in his many plate appearances today. Upton dropped down a sacrifice in the first. He's been hot down the stretch. On the first pitch, he grounds to shortstop. Scuderi's got it. It's a big second out. In Desmond Jennings, the Rays have really done a masterful job when you combine his numbers since being called up to those of Sam Fuld, a New England native who's in his first year with the Rays. These numbers compare rather favorably, Tim, with what the Red Sox have gotten out of Carl Crawford for much, much more money.
Yeah, it was the Rays that got out of Carl Crawford what Desmond Jennings has been doing for the last 2 years. The Rays had Carl Crawford for 9 years, and Carl earned that big salary with the Red Sox, but has been disappointing and had a disappointing year.
Evan Longoria now with a runner at third and 2 gone. It's part of how the Rays identify how to win. Every team uses statistical support these days, but the Rays go about it a little differently than some clubs. Ken Rosenthal with more on that.
Yeah, Matt, 1 point on Jennings. Some people think he actually should have been promoted sooner. Tim mentioned it came on July 23rd. But he had a rough year last year. A lot of injuries, changed his swings, and the Rays wanted to prove that he belonged. Now, as for the stats, we talk about matchups all the time. This guy's 5 for 20 off this guy. Well, the Rays don't look at it in that traditional sense. Joe Madden told us today they look at velocity off the bat, how hard a hitter is hitting a certain pitcher.
For Desmond Jennings, the answer is very hard. In his second plate appearance today, as Longoria lays off, and it's 2 balls and a strike.
Yeah, the Rays are much different than most teams. They have their own set of statistical analysis. And that ball off the bat, it could be at somebody, but if a guy's hitting the ball on the sweet part of the bat more often than not, that's a better indicator than if he gets 3 flares to the outfield or 5 hits, but 2 of which were infield hits.
And here is some more statistical analysis, if you will, that would prove the following point, that as goes Evan Longoria, so go the Rays. When Longoria hits, the Rays win. I mean, those are the cliff notes. Full count to him now. 3 balls and 2 strikes. Lester just missing the corner.
That's a backdoor cutter. The backdoor is to a right-hander, and it was outside.
Two out, runner at third, and Lester's payoff pitch home. Misses for ball 4, skips away from Salta Lamacchia. Jennings scores from third.
What great base running. You talk about quick reactions. You can only score like that when you're ready to go home and taking a chance. And nobody runs the bases better than the Tampa Bay Rays. Just heads up base running by Jennings. Going forward, not even a play.
You know who was caught off guard by that most was Evan Longoria. He was taking a pad off, and oh, hey, my guy's going to score. I better get out of here.
You've got the pitcher jumping over the runner, and Evan Longoria, what a shot. Evan Longoria taking his half shin guard off.
So here's Ben Zobrist now after ball 4 in the wild pitch, scoring Jennings to make it 3-0 Rays. Zobrist made it 2-0 Rays with a home run in the first. Boy, the Rays using their speed, their aggressiveness, and in the case of Zobrist, though it's limited, their power on this afternoon to have the early advantage today. Lester out of the stretch, and the 0-1 pitch to Zobrist is hit well to center field. Ellsbury back shy of the track to put it away and retire the side. Not before the Rays can manufacture a third run to take a 3-0 lead. Baseball on Fox presented by Chevrolet. The Rays on top of the Red Sox 3-0 as we start the home half of the third here at Fenway Park. Carl Crawford, Mike Aviles, and Marco Scutaro against Jeff Neiman. Carl Crawford before this year the lifetime Ray, 2 for 6 against the old uniform so far over the weekend. A ball and a strike to a guy who signed a big 7-year deal to leave Tampa and come to Boston. He left Tampa Bay as the Rays franchise leader in batting average, runs, hits, among other categories. A 4-time All-Star in St. Pete. Won his first and only Gold Glove there last year. Currently, it has not been as easy in Boston as Carl made the game look while in St. Pete. This season batting just .252, well below his season average. Well, the Red Sox have done everything they can, Terry Francona specifically, to try to put Carl in a position, Tim, to give him the most success. He has hit all over the batting order. They've tried the days off. They've tried the different approach. They've tried the DH spot for Carl. None of it has seemed to get the response that the other uniform did. That's a line drive right back up the box, a base hit.
When Terry Francona talks about Carl Crawford having a good mini season, that means from here to the end of the season, and then of course the postseason if the Red Sox make it. What more can a manager do? You try different lineup spots, let them play.
Crawford aboard to start the inning here. First base hit for Boston this afternoon. Now Mike Aviles, who had the big home run yesterday that was the difference in a 4-3 win for the Red Sox. The home run for Aviles yesterday, his first in a Boston uniform, and his 6th of the year. None bigger for Mike than that one that dented the Sports Authority sign here at Boston. You know, when Mike Aviles was acquired from the Royals as one of the last deals consummated before the deadline, has he done it again? Has Mike Aviles done it again? That's off the top of the monster. Crawford being waved around. He'll score in front of the throw, though that was very close as Crawford decided not to slide. My goodness.
What a play by Sean Rodriguez, the shortstop. I'll tell you, it looked like Lobaton made the tag on the back of Carl Crawford. I think Carl slid, but he slid too late. But what an athletic play by Sean Rodriguez, who takes the relay from B.J. Upton. And a bullet throw. And if he tagged him, Carl Crawford going in standing up, and I think he tagged him on the rear end. I think Carl was out. One more look. He may have been on the plate when the tag was made. But a quick call by Brian Knight, the home plate umpire, and Crawford scores the first run of the game for the Sox.
Mike Aviles stays hot. An RBI double that gets the Sox on the scoreboard. Now Marco Scutaro. I don't know if you saw at the end of that play, Timmy, but as soon as Crawford got up after that rather awkward looking score, Scutaro bunting, and Neiman gets him at the bag at first, Aviles to second. I'm not sure if you see this in the replay, but when Crawford gets up, he looks at Marco Scutaro as if to say, I didn't see you telling me what to do. And I'm not sure if his view of Scutaro is obscured by the home plate umpire or not. This will give us a good look. Watch Scutaro down there. If he's telling, yeah, he is clearly telling him to slide. I'm not sure if the signal came late and Carl had issue with that.
Looked like Carl was caught in between, and from that first replay from left field, it looked like he was safe.
Jacoby Ellsbury now with a runner at third and one gone.
or if Lobaton did make the tag, he made the tag when Crawford was on the plate.
Ellsbury struck out his first try this afternoon, takes strike one. The sack bunt by Marco Scutaro, a rarity for this Boston offense. Just their 21st of the season. And that represents the smallest number in all of baseball. Swing and a drive. Geyer lost that in the sun and recovers to make the catch. Aviles will come on in and score, and it's a one-run ball game. And I thought off the bat that Jacoby Ellsbury had just tied this thing.
Tell you, this is shades of the 163rd game of the year in 1978 with Lou Piniella in right field. Lou Piniella of the Yankees, and somehow catching a ball with, I think Rick Burleson was the base runner in the 9th inning. There is no right field in baseball that's tougher to play in September and October than Fenway Park here in Boston.
The sac fly for Ellsbury drives in his 95th of the year, and now here's Dustin Pedroia. Red Sox coming back with 2 in the inning. A single by Crawford, an RBI double by Aviles. After a sac bunt, a sac fly by Ellsbury.
That day, by the way, game number 163 that will live in infamy in Boston Red Sox history, was on October 2nd. So that's exactly 15 days from the day. So the same sun that Lou Piniella had to play on that remarkable play where he was blinded by the sun and caught the single on one hop and held Burleson to third base.
It was part of a late season collapse in Boston that included a 4-game sweep they suffered against the Yankees right here in something that was known as the Boston Massacre then and now.
Early September.
And the Rays trying to take a page out of that book. Of course, yesterday's result prevented the 4-game sweep.
Right.
But there are a lot of these little anecdotal stories that Joe Madden has used to inspire his guys. Not only the Boston Massacre of '78, but some personal experience for Joe. He was a bench coach on the '95 then California Angels team that squandered a 13-game lead over the final 7 weeks of the season. And they lost out in a division title to the upstart Seattle Mariners. And the story, the lesson has been this from Joe. Hey guys, I know this can happen because I was on the bad end of it a number of years ago.
I've lived it, says Joe. 12 games out in front with 38 to play over Seattle. And in the process of Seattle going to the postseason, that kept baseball in Seattle, Washington.
Red Sox get 2 in the third. It's a 1-run ball game. TNT, get it faster with 4G. Rethink possible by Burger King, who reminds you to have it your way. And by Warner Brothers Pictures' Contagion, now playing in theaters everywhere. Aerial coverage this afternoon provided by DirecTV. To get the best offer of the year, call 1-800-DirecTV. Move to the top half of the fourth. New story here is the Red Sox have scored a pair to make it a one-run ball game. 3-2 Tampa Bay for Damon, Rodriguez, and Kochman here against John Lester. Johnny Damon, the only Rays regular that could boast good numbers against John Lester for his career. 9 for 30 with a couple of home runs. But everywhere else in the lineup card, you don't see a whole lot of success. And that includes Ben Zobrist, who hit the 2-run home run in the first inning today. It does, however, get back to what Ken Rosenthal talked about earlier as to the decisions Joe Maddon makes when he crafts his lineup. He's not so much worried about a 1 for 10, but was it a convincing 1 for 10? Did he make good contact? Was the ball hit hard? And in the case of Zobrist, that's a yes. And that's part of the reason Maddon has him in the cleanup spot today. We asked Joe about it between innings, about the decision to put Zobrist in the cleanup spot.
Well, a couple of days ago, we played Lester down in at our place, and Zoe had a big line drive base hit over the shortstop's head with the bases loaded. So I know coming into this game, he's got that fresh in his mind. So just trying to set it up. The ultimate goal is to have Longo be pitched to, so you got to put somebody behind him that causes them to want to pitch to him.
And Joe, when Jennings scored on that short and wild pitch, you've got to be prepared when you're the runner at third base. I don't think most players would score on that short or wild pitch.
He was ready for it. I mean, I could see his secondary lead really well from right here. I know it was in his mind's eye. Lester likes to throw that back foot slider, the right-handed hitters, and a lot of them do go in the dirt, so he was ready for it.
Joe, we appreciate your time as always.
My
Best
pleasure,
of luck
guys.
down the stretch.
Thank you.
Sean Rodriguez batting now with a runner aboard. Joe's always very forthcoming with how he arrives at those decisions. Really likes his club too. You get the sense that he really believes in the mix that he has here. A strike to make it 1-1 against Sean Rodriguez. Maddon was pleased to have Rodriguez available today. As you see, Casey Kochman waiting next. Sean had been nicked up with a bad back. Damon runs, throw down to second is in time to get him. Johnny Damon thrown out for just the 5th time this year as he discusses the call with Bob Davidson.
Joe Maddon coming out from the dugout. Damon thought that the tag came down on his foot that was already on the bag. He was safe. You know, it looked like Saltalamacchia may have planned that one-hop throw to second base intentionally. That's a very close play, but it appeared that his left foot was on the bag when the tag came down. But nonetheless, a fine play by Scudero, who stayed with that tag.
2 balls and 2 strikes now to Sean Rodriguez. A much less threatening situation with 1 away and the base is empty.
How about last night? The Rays scoring, or the Rays stealing 7 bases, and 6 of them against Jason Varitek and Josh Beckett. One more look at this. Looked like the foot was on the bag and then the tag came down. But the Red Sox got the call.
Damon himself was responsible for 3 of those 7 stolen bases a night ago. Still 3-2 to Sean Rodriguez. You know what Johnny may have taken issue with there additionally, Tim, was the fact that I don't know that Bob Davidson had the best look at that tag.
Might be right, yeah.
We're trying to get another look at that. Here's the 3-2 home, and it's fouled away again.
I think you're implying that Scudero could have been between Bob Davidson and the base runner.
Exactly
here. It is right here. How are you going to see through the right leg of Marco Scutaro making the tag? That's an excellent point.
Still full to Sean Rodriguez. And there is ball 4. That's the 4th walk of the afternoon by John Lester, and it includes back-to-back passes as Lester becomes increasingly frustrated with Brian Knight behind the plate. The walk totals have come up a little bit for John Lester. 3 walks his last start at St. Petersburg, 4 this afternoon. And for more on those control issues, Ken Rosenthal.
Well, you go back to that game last Sunday in Tampa Bay. John Lester threw 111 pitches in 4 innings. Now, he hasn't had that big an issue today or that big a problem with the pitch count. But that game, he said he didn't have command of anything. He had no pitch to get him back in counts. And he is struggling today as well.
I feel like his issues today might be a little bit more directed at the guy calling balls and strikes as well. Here's Casey Kochman now. Kochman grounded back to the pitcher in his first try this afternoon. 10 home runs for Casey, 4 of which have come at the expense of the Red Sox. This is not the same Casey Kochman that played for a short time in Boston in 2009. We talked to Terry Francona about that before the game. And Terry, first and foremost, wanted the record to reflect how much he likes Casey Kochman as a player and as a person, and how he is pleased that he has recrafted his career. He also said in the same breath he hopes he goes 0 for 9 over the weekend. Of course. But the numbers really do bear out how much improved Casey is, offensively at least, exploring some of that promise that the Angels saw years ago when he was a top prospect in their system. Nothing and 1 the count to him here with 1 out and 1 on. Oh, and 2. There was a time earlier this year when Casey Kochman's name was being bandied about as a potential batting champ this season. Through mid-August, as you take a look at Brandon Guyer waiting next, Kochman was hitting .339. Since then, the numbers have come down
considerably over the last 5 weeks.
Fastball misses the corner, a ball and 2 strikes.
With John Lester, one of the tougher left-handers against left-handed hitting in the American League. He can get you out inside, he can get you out outside, get you out with a curveball, 2 different types of cutters. He is a tough assignment for any left-handed hitter.
Wow, a check-in throw at first, he almost yanked. But Adrian Gonzalez had to come off the bag and just knock that down.
Good play by Gonzalez. Ken Rosenthal talking about Gonzalez's right shoulder. That can't make that feel too good on a play like that.
So a ball and 2 strikes to Casey Kochman. Chop to first. Gonzalez for the lead runner. The relay back to first base with Lester covering in time to double him up. Adrian Gonzalez initiating an aggressive 3-6-1 double play. Nothing in the Rays half of the 4th. This afternoon, folks are either here at Fenway Park trying to stay warm or watching on TV this afternoon. Red Sox holding on to a 4-game advantage over these Rays in the remaining weeks of the season, remaining days of the season in the race for the American League wild card. Back with Tim McCarver, Matt Vasgersian, Adrian Gonzalez leads off the home fourth. The 3-4-5 part of the order for Boston. And a swing and a miss to put Gonzalez behind 0-2. Adrian, a strikeout victim in the first, making him 0 for 7 in the series against Tampa Bay pitching. And a ball and 2 strikes as the curveball misses outside.
Well, that is a wicked curveball that Neiman has been featuring today. That spike curveball once again. It's a real downer and very effective for Neiman. You can almost see it with that grip. Holding it like Tim Wakefield may hold a knuckleball.
Struck him out with that pitch in the dirt in the first.
Right.
And it's still a ball and 2 strikes. David Ortiz waiting on deck. See the Rays employing the shift for Adrian Gonzalez as they did in the first and as they have all season long. They'll do that for Ortiz. Heck, Joe Madden does that for Jared Saltalamacchia.
Right, he did it the last time up. Saltalamacchia grounding hard into that double play.
And the 2-2 is chopped foul.
Speaking of double plays, this is what ended the top of the 4th inning. Lester covering first base, but he can't find the bag. Consequently, he straddled it. And Kochman, hoping to avoid injuring Lester, ended up tripping, falling over the bag. But a very, very good double play, 3-6-1 for the Sox.
Can't find it, just straddle it.
Yeah.
You'll get it there somewhere.
That happens often when pitchers are covering the bag in their haste. They can't stretch or wouldn't stretch like a first baseman would. So the ball and the foot arrives at the bag about the same time, and you see that often, that a pitcher will straddle a bag like that, but nobody fortunately was hurt.
Still 2 balls and 2 strikes to Adrian Gonzalez. And a full count now, 3-2. Boston's 2 runs came in the third. 2 runs on just 2 hits today for the Red Sox so far. Crawford, who scored after singling, and Aviles, who not only drove in a run but scored after doubling. It's a payoff pitch home to Gonzalez. And the big curveball misses in the dirt, ball 4. Second walk issued by Jeff Neiman today. The Roberto Clemente Award is about dedication on and off the field. James Shields and David Ortiz are 2 of the 30 nominees for this year's award. Go to ChevyBaseball.com/Clemente and vote for the player that inspires you. You could win a trip to the World Series.
There's a different type of shift used on Ortiz right now. Sean Rodriguez, the shortstop, or I should say Ben Zobrist, the second baseman, is in the hole, but he's not deep because you have a double play situation here. So you're not going to play Ortiz in shallow right center, because if he hits the ball to the second baseman, then you wouldn't have a chance to turn 2. So you shorten up the shift.
Josh Reddick waiting next. Ortiz with a runner at first and nobody out. This is a look that we've seen around the big leagues before, and Mike Scioscia out in Anaheim employs a similar look against David Ortiz specifically. The Brewers do it for guys like Ryan Howard. What's the common theme? Well, Ron Renicky, Mike Scioscia, Joe Madden. They all fell off the same tree, philosophically speaking, and they all shared the same dugout for such a long time. Shift does not come into play on this fly ball as B.J. Upton makes the catch, and there's one away. Of course, Mike Scioscia is still so successful out in Anaheim, and not only do they have the same philosophies on how to play defensively and how to stunt like this against left-handed hitters, but they did come from the same family. We'll talk about the postseason picture and how it stands today in just a moment. Josh Reddick now with 1 out and 1 on. Reddick drew a base on balls back in the second. Still looking for his first hit of the series. Gonzalez aboard at first, not blessed with the greatest speed. So no such shift employed for the left-handed hitting Josh Reddick. And there is a lot of subjectivity in making those decisions. And we were talking about how Joe Maddon, Ron Renneke, Mike Scioscia all shared the same dugout together in Anaheim for so long. And when you suggest to Joe, or you suggest to the Brewers manager Ron Renneke, that those things were all learned in Anaheim, they'll give you a little bit of a frown. There's a base hit into right. Gonzalez to the next station. Because Joe Maddon and Ron Renneke all had the same philosophy before they shared a dugout with Mike Scioscia. And not everybody on that staff, by the way, buys into the overshift against left-handed power hitters. Bud Black was there. Of course, he was the pitching coach on that club. He's now managing successfully in San Diego. He does not play defensively in that overshift as often as Renneke, Maddon, and Scioscia out in Anaheim. Boy, all have had terrific success. Bud Black, the reigning National League Manager of the Year. Ron Renneke headed to the postseason in his first season in Milwaukee. And Joe Maddon, the 2008 American League Manager of the Year, hoping to get back to the fall dance in 2011. Jared Saltalamacchia now.
Well, the shift was employed against Saltalamacchia, as we said, his first time up. That was with a runner on at first base. Now runners are on at first and second, so no shift employed.
Saltalamacchia grounded into the 5-6-3 double play to end the second. 2 balls and no strikes. Gonzalez and Reddick aboard with 1 away. You know, so often games this time of year, especially those that involve the Red Sox or even the Yankees, Tim, folks lament the time of game. Understand that there's a lot on the line here. Nobody's playing this like it's a B game on the backfield in the Cactus League. A big swing and a miss, and it's 2-1. Two balls and a strike to count to Jared Saltalamacchia. Carl Crawford waiting next. 2-2. Not to mention, with teams like the Red Sox and Rays and Yankees, you generally have a good representation of players who are among league leaders in pitches per plate appearance. That guy Dustin Pedroia certainly comes to mind.
That's right. A lot of foul balls, a lot of deep counts, and that takes time.
Neiman working very deliberately here. Saltalamacchia taking his first set of plate appearances against the Rays right-hander today, and he strikes out. So a double play and a punch out on Saltalamacchia's line in his first day against Jeff Niemann.
That's the spike curveball to get Saltalamacchia.
4 strikeouts for Niemann this afternoon. Now Carl Crawford, who singled and scored in the third. One of the trends that's gone down with Crawford this year in his first season in Boston is that he's had a whole lot more success in the afternoon than he has under the lights. He singled in the third, so that daytime batting average will go up incrementally.
But what is a 4 o'clock game? Is it an afternoon game or a night game?
It's a good question.
Or a tweener?
Maybe
a left center, right center.
Another hour and a half when the lights are on full. It's a night game. Everything after the 5th inning is a night game tonight. Curveball misses the corner, 1-1. But the discrepancy is rather large. Crawford, a .307 hitter in the afternoon, a .228 batter at night. We like to micro scrutinize the numbers to try to explain why a guy who's a 4-time All-Star has struggled so much in Boston. That's on the ground for Zobrist to Rodriguez to force Reddick and retire the side. 2 are left stranded in the 4th. It's on to the 5th. Still 3-2 Rays. Everybody talks about it, but nobody explains the fact that it's a good thing. It means 2 competitive lines. Rookie right fielder Brandon Guyer opens the visitors' 5th. It'll be Guyer, Lobaton, and then the top of the order, Desmond Jennings for Tampa Bay. Rays on top of the Red Sox in a big game 3 of this crucial 4-game series among the American League wild card contenders this weekend. A 1 to Brandon Guyer, swung on and missed. One of the Rays new to the club in 2011, thrown right into a pennant race, Ken Rosenthal.
Yes, he is. And for people out there wondering who Brandon Guyer is, he was part of the Rays' return for Matt Garza this offseason. They got 5 players back in that deal. Top pitching prospect Chris Archer, a top shortstop prospect Hak-Ju Lee, catcher Robinson Chirinos, and of course Sam Fuld. And that sounds like a lot, and it is, but the Cubs got Garza for 3 years. So this is a trade we'll have to keep our eyes on in the years to come.
Kenny, and Brandon Guyer, a player that had success early. In fact, first big league at bat back in May against Baltimore. The home run, and you'd think he'd be received wildly in the dugout as he was in the stands by his family. Got the silent treatment. Yeah. Then they got him.
He's patting guys on the leg, on the knee, on the arm, on the shoulder, trying to get some reaction from his teammates.
You know, that's part of the almost collegiate atmosphere, Tim, that exists in that Tampa Bay clubhouse.
Yeah.
It's born not only of a younger roster, one that includes 16 rookies this year, but it's born of a manager whose philosophy it is to try to keep players engaged that way and keep it fun. I mean, they have theme nights on the road.
Their theme tomorrow is Letterman sweaters, right? They'll be wearing those to New York on the train.
On the train tomorrow. And they'll pose for a series of 1930s and 1940s photographs, I'm sure, before they get on the boxcars, quote unquote. A lot of detractors of Joe Maddon's point to that, and they say, "Oh, come on, that's the false hustle college World Series stuff." Guys are sitting in the dugout with their hats inside out, rubbing with their lucky bubblegum jars, as Guyer has a base hit into left. The players on the team are quick to say, "Listen, a lot of us didn't go to college." Johnny Damon has said, "I embrace this stuff. I've been in the big leagues for 15 years. If anybody's going to poo-poo it, it's a veteran like me. But I didn't go to college. I love the atmosphere, and it's a fun place to play."
Brandon Guyer, with that base hit to left field, he went to college, one of the best colleges in the country, the University of Virginia, and was a teammate of Ryan Zimmerman of the Washington Nets when he was a freshman. In fact, Brandon Guyer's wife is Lindsay Murphy, who is the Fox 5 anchor in Washington, D.C. So in and around the Washington area with UVA, one of the really great schools. Cavaliers.
Jose Lobaton pops it out into short right for Dustin Pedroia. We actually have, Timmy, a model, our own Vanna White, if you will, who is Chris Rose is about to do his rendition of How Much for That Doggy in the Window.
Where are
Chris?
your pom-poms?
Yeah, Vasgersian. Yeah, there was a question as to whether or not I should don this because you were in the booth today. But this is the actual Letterman sweater they're going to be wearing.
All right.
It's not too bad. I can't turn around. That doesn't do it justice. I mean, remember, professional athletes are going to be wearing this, not short, stubby broadcasters. But it does continue their theme night. They did a grunge night earlier this year out in Seattle. They had pajama night on a red eye from Anaheim. There were guys wearing 6'5" onesies on the plane, and they all embrace this sort of stuff, guys. It's pretty cool.
Fun.
I follow up only with this, Chris, as we take a look at a photo of the team on grunge night in Seattle. Everybody channeling their inner Pearl Jam. Is that sweater yours to keep, Rose?
Yeah, I'm taking this thing.
We're looking at
no, I'll give it back to them. It was very nice of them to at least give it up for the broadcast. I think. I'm not so sure the viewers appreciate it, but at least they get a look at it.
It could be a big hit on eBay. Just think twice about giving it back.
All right. I think you and I lettered in the same sport, right? Being obnoxious broadcasters.
That was it.
Okay, cool.
One out and one on. Chris Rose with the latest Tampa Bay trend. Desmond Jennings, the batter now with the runner aboard. That's Guyer, who had that leadoff base hit. By the way, that additional photograph you saw, the Rays, was that of pajama night. Some of the chicanery that goes on inside that Tampa Bay clubhouse. Two balls and a strike to count to Desmond Jennings. When we were talking to Joe Maddon about that 95 Angels collapse, and he mentioned how hot Seattle had gotten down the stretch to catch his Angels team that year, he mentioned the infusion of life that the Mariners got that year with a new leadoff hitter down the stretch. And I had completely forgotten, Tim, as many have, the role that Vince Coleman played on that Seattle club. As you see the rookie phenom Matt Moore up and throwing in the Rays bullpen. We'll have more on him in a bit. But a new leadoff hitter down the stretch, whether it's Vince Coleman in '95 for the Mariners or Kenny Lofton for a World Series bound Giants team
back
earlier
in 2002,
or even Desmond Jennings with these Rays. That little spark giving team a big lift. Of course, Jennings came up in July and he's a rookie, a little different, but he certainly has lifted the offense since his arrival. 2 gone as he lines to center. And now B.J. Upton. Upton is sacrificed and grounded to shortstop this afternoon. At this point, it's unclear if Matt Moore is throwing to enter the ball game in the next half inning. You'd think it a little early for Jeff Neiman to be through after just 4 innings of work today. And Matt Moore has already sat down. He's made 1 appearance since coming up. Upton scalds that ball back up the middle. Second hit of the inning. Runners at first and second now for Evan Longoria.
B.J. Upton with a ton of talent. Back in 2007, his first year, he hit 300. And yet his average has been declining since then. It's a strange thing. Got great power, 21 home runs this year, but only a .235 average.
So now Evan Longoria, who has walked and grounded out today. It's a big 2-out single by Upton to keep the inning alive and put runners aboard for the hottest Tampa Bay hitter.
I would be very wary about coming inside to Longoria in a situation like this. The monster's too close. Now Longoria did go hit the ball out of the ballpark in game 1 on Thursday night to right center field. I think if you're John Lester, you make him go the other way to hit it out instead of giving him a pitch to pull.
Two on, 2 out, top half of the 5th. John Lester, as we mentioned, has already walked 4 tonight. And in fact, this is his 7th game with 4 or more walks. In the previous 2 seasons combined, John had only 8 such games. Longoria into the opposite field for a base hit. Here's Geyer being waved around. Reddick kicks it in right. Geyer scores easily, and the Rays go on top 4-2.
We talked earlier about Joe Madden modeling his lineup to get the best opportunity for Evan Longoria to hit with men on base. And he drives in yet another run in this series. That's 5 RBIs for Longoria so far in these first 3 games. He has been red hot.
Red hot down the stretch and terrific against the Red Sox in particular. Ken Rosenthal, that's 51 runs batted in 51 games against Boston since the start of 2009.
And you remember, Matt, he missed the first month with a strained left oblique. Took him a while to get going after that. But since June 11th, he leads the majors with 79 RBIs. This is the guy in the middle of the order that every team wants. And earlier his batting average was low, but a lot of that was poor luck. His batting average on balls in play was very, very low, and that indicates that things will usually turn.
One of those numbers, one of those ancillary numbers that the Rays pay a lot of attention to per our earlier discussion. Here's Ben Zobrist now. He struck for a 2-run home run in the first. Runners at first and third with 2 gone and a run in here in the Rays half of the 5th. Tim, to your experience, and we talked earlier about it, it's worth revisiting at this point. John Lester making back-to-back starts against the same opponent. Sunday in St. Petersburg, and then this afternoon he gets the same Rays team here at home. As you take a look at the line for both he and Jeff Neiman, is it an easier matchup for a hitter or for a pitcher?
No,
when you're seeing that lineup so quickly?
No, when you're John Lester, a guy of his caliber, I mean, he didn't have good stuff last Sunday, when he went only 4 innings, threw 111 pitches and lost 9-1 in St. Petersburg. He doesn't have good stuff today, but when you're John Lester, a pitcher of his caliber, you can adapt to any lineup whether you face him 2 times in a row or not. Not that big a deal.
And not that big a deal is the perfect way to sum it up, because the numbers back that up. John Lester entered today with a career ERA of 3.46. What do you guess his ERA is when he faces an opponent in back-to-back starts? 3.46.
Oh, really?
That's
a good one.
A model of consistency.
Yeah, I mean, he's one of the top left-handers in the game since 2008.
3 balls and 1 strike. He's fallen behind Ben Zobrist here with Johnny Damon waiting on deck.
Good hitting situation for Zobrist, who is already homered in this game. You're in a situation like this, you look for 1 pitch inside part of the plate and try to pop it out of the ballpark.
And a full count, 3-2. You know, John Lester also seems to me, Tim, and we both watched him pitch in person enough to say this, that when things aren't going favorably for him, you can kind of read it on the mound. And that's not to say that he presses or he changes his approach, but he's working very deliberately today. We've seen him in a couple of stare downs with Brian Knight. It's clear that he's not working with his best stuff, in other words. And here's the payoff pitch home. Johnny Damon waiting next with runners at the corners. Tomorrow's matchup, by the way, the 4th in this 4-game series. It's David Price for the Rays and Tim Wakefield, who will make his encore performance after his 200th career victory last time around.
That's great. One of the great stories. One of the real gentlemen of the game, Tim Wakefield.
A called strike 3 taken by Zobrist over the outside corner. And he has a little something to say to Brian Knight about it, too. A run in the Tampa 5th. Support youth baseball across the country. Well, the Rays add to their lead now a 4-2 advantage after Tampa Bay plates one in the top of the fifth. Matt Moore up for a second time. He was up throwing earlier, took a seat briefly, and is back up behind Jeff Neiman, who starts his fifth inning of work here against Mike Aviles, Marco Scutaro, and Jacoby Ellsbury. Aviles playing third for Kevin Youkilis, who with a variety of physical maladies is sitting out for a second straight day. Aviles had the game-winning home run yesterday. He has doubled and scored this afternoon. Mike taking full advantage of an opportunity to play Ken Rosenthal, and he has certainly proven his worth over the weekend.
He has, Matt, and he had actually asked the Royals for a trade. He knew he wasn't part of their long-term plans. And guys, I find this really interesting. Obviously, it's because of the injuries in part, but he's playing a greater role here than he did with the Royals. And Delman Young, the American League Central champion Tigers, also playing a greater role for a contender than he did for a non-contender.
Well, it's a great point, and one we visited with Terry Francona about between innings. We asked him to talk about where, in fact, they were going to play Mike Aviles. That trade was consummated. None of us knew where he was going to play. Terry Francona knew exactly what they were going to do with their utility man.
You know what? He's done a really good job. When we got him, we kind of liked him for a while. And, you know, he went through the Tommy John surgery. So, you know, he didn't know if he could really play shortstop. He came over here and proved he could do that right away. We've even thrown him in the outfield, played him at third. I think not only for the present, but for the future, this guy's really going to help us.
How about John Lester, Tito? A little wild early, but seems to have gathered himself.
I agree with that. You know, he didn't command quite like he can, but he's got such good stuff, and he competes, and he's kind of held us in there. And then we got the couple runs, so hopefully now it puts some zeros up.
Hey, fall is in the air. You went to the Belichick sweatshirt early this year, huh?
Guys, I'm always cold, man. I can't help it.
Hey, Terry, thanks again for the time as always. Best of luck down the stretch.
Okay, guys, thanks.
1 ball and 1 strike to count to Marco Scutaro. Terry Francona talking about Mike Aviles and his value. As Aviles strikes out quickly, didn't give us a chance to talk him up much, but we can go back to him. He's played shortstop, second base, right field, left field. Filling in at third today. I think the interesting part of those comments was the fact that they had one eye toward the future with him. And Aviles is still a young enough player to where he could step into a starting role here at some point, depending on what happens here from a business standpoint in the next few years. Marco Scutaro among those Red Sox in a free agent year in 2011. There's the 2-2.
Well, when you play that many positions, when you're a guy who can play 6 positions, that detracts from the fact that you can be a starter at any of those 6 positions. So therefore, by being too handy and being able to play that many positions, it's tough to be a regular player when you do that and you establish a reputation like that.
And a called strike 3 taken by Scutaro. 2 gone, bases empty in the 5th. We check in with Chris Rose, who's got a DirecTV game break.
Guys, checking in on the NL wildcard leaders. The Atlanta Braves up 3.5 on the day over the Cards, and R.A. Dickey pitching a 1-hitter against Dan Aguilera, but Tim Hudson strikes out Jason Bay. They are scoreless in the 7th. Remember to see every baseball game, the most in HD. It's 1-800-DirecTV. Matt and Tim.
Yeah, Chris, we've talked so much about the American League wildcard race as we are here in it this afternoon. National League wildcard race is a good one too, Tim. You intimated that earlier. Here's Jacoby Ellsbury now with 2 gone.
Yeah, nothing in the 7th with Atlanta 3.5 games in front of the St. Louis Cardinals, who play later on tonight in Philadelphia. They'll be facing Roy Oswalt against the Phillies with the best record in baseball by far.
3.5 games of separation between Atlanta and St. Louis, and the Giants still mathematically in the hunt as well. 5 back in the wild card. San Francisco in the NL West not dead either. 6 back of the Diamondbacks. But again, as is the case with the Rays, and more so with the Giants, the math simply is not on their side at this late stage. Ball and 2 strikes to Jacoby Ellsbury. You mentioned the Phillies, Tim, with 97 wins, and as you said, far and away the best record in baseball. That team has a chance to not only set a new franchise record for wins in a season, but shatter it. 101 is the team's record. They did it in back-to-back years in 76 and 77. It's a team that could win 108, 109 games this year.
Tell you, I was on those two teams in 76 and 77. A team that won 3 straight divisions, 76, 7, and 8, and never made it to the World Series. Of course, that was before division play. Phillies 12 games in front of Atlanta, as you see. And Atlanta, even though they're 12 back, 3.5 ahead in the wild card.
Still 2 balls and 2 strikes to Jacoby Ellsbury.
There is no guarantee, of course. That first dangerous 3 out of 5. Those are dangerous series. The 4 out of 7 series, you asked players and to a man, they will tell you that is much more comfortable on the heart than those 3 out of 5 series.
Bases empty, 2 gone, 2 balls and 2 strikes to Jacoby Ellsbury. Full count now.
I think you could make a case that the Detroit Tigers are as dangerous as the Philadelphia Phillies going into the postseason. In that first round, if you have to face Verlander 2 times in games 1 and 5, which you probably will have to do, whoever it is, Tigers clinching their first division last night since 1987.
Well, that one gets away from Sean Rodriguez. Looked like he'd made a nice play to get to that ball to his left, and it just snuck under his webbing. See how that's scored.
I think that's a hit with Ellsbury running. Anybody else, maybe you give him an error. Yep, they're going to give him an error. I think that was a base hit. I don't believe Sean comes up and gets Jacoby anyway because Ellsbury has too much speed.
Here's Dustin Pedroia now with the 2-out base runner aboard. Ellsbury reaches on the E6. That is a rare miscue, by the way, defensively for a Rays team that has been as good as there is in baseball. A huge walking lead by Ellsbury that time as he's able to steal second without a throw.
Put it in your pocket. Oof.
If he kept going, he might have had a chance at third.
Throw it to third and head him off.
A chance for Dustin Pedroia to drive in a run now. He's 0 for 2 so far today against Jeff Neiman. The bag for Ellsbury, his 37th of the year. We were talking about how airtight the Rays have been defensively this year. They started play today with a .988 team fielding percentage, and that ties them with the Phillies for the best in baseball. They're on a pace for 73 errors this year. Only 5 American League teams have ever finished a season with fewer than 73 errors. That's how historically good the Rays have been defensively this year. So the error by Rodriguez, a rare defensive gaffe. Neiman holds and finally looks Ellsbury back to second. Dustin Pedroia is one of those hitters, Tim, that we spoke of last inning when we talked about batters that battle into deep pitch counts. In terms of pitches per plate appearance, Dustin is 6th in the American League in that category. Another huge lead, but this time Neiman saw it coming, and Ellsbury is thrown out trying to sneak third.
Bad play by Jacoby Ellsbury.
A caught stealing at third with 2 away makes for a scoreless bottom of the 5th. And by Michelin, a better way forward. Moving forward this afternoon, doing so with the Rays on top 4-2. Johnny Damon leading things off against John Lester here in the 6th. Damon, Rodriguez, and Kochman for visiting Tampa Bay. Damon swings at the first pitch and sends a ball out to the deepest part of Fenway Park. Around the track is where Jacoby Ellsbury runs it down. Fox Sports is proud to support Stand Up to Cancer in their work to fund groundbreaking research that helps accelerate treatment to patients. Stand up for someone you love. Visit standuptocancer.org/Fox Sports to learn more. With Tim McCarver, Matt Vasgersian here at Fenway Park. And Tim, we opened the telecast talking about the postseason atmosphere here and how the urgency level perhaps for the Rays, the team down by 4 in the wild card race, is a little bit higher than that of the Red Sox. But that's not to say there isn't pressure on Boston trying to maintain here down the stretch.
Well, from a Rays perspective, it's almost like they're saying we've got to win tomorrow. and in baseball, what you're doing is, I mean, that old saying about take one game at a time, don't look ahead. Well, the Rays are forced to look ahead because they're 4 back in the wild card with 12 games to play.
And they don't have history on their side in this regard. Their deficit at the beginning of September was such that no team had ever come back from that. So you can talk about what a Phillies team in past vintage may have done, what an Angels team in past vintage might have done in terms of relinquishing a lead. But the Rays are trying to be the first team ever to come back from a 9-game September deficit to get to the postseason. 2 quick outs here for John Lester, and now it's Casey Kochman.
The famous Philly fold in 1964 when they were 6.5 games out in front of the Cardinals and 7 games in front of the Cincinnati Reds. In fact, had the Cardinals lost the last game of the season that year, there would have been the only three-way tie in the history of baseball. And the Cardinals won. Philadelphia beat Cincinnati, and that prevented a three-way tie.
And if that were the case, I don't know that the league office and back then there were two league offices in the American and National League. I don't know that they were all buttoned down with tiebreaker formats. What a great play by Adrian Gonzalez. The two-time Gold Glover takes a base knock away from Casey Kochman.
Well, there were tiebreaker consequences that year, and I'll tell you about them when we get back.
Stay tuned. 4-2 Rays. Heavyweight title is the #1 ranked contender. Junior Dos Santos squares off with undefeated world champ Cain Velasquez. And this Tuesday you can hear from both fighters as Jay Glazer interviews them both on Facebook.com/Fox Sports at 6 Eastern, 3 Pacific. A couple of changes here for the Rays as we go to the bottom of the 6th. Reed Brignac takes over at shortstop for Sean Rodriguez. And phenom blue chipper left-hander Matt Moore makes his second big league appearance here in the 6th inning.
He is all of that. Blue chipper. 96, 97 on the radar gun, and his easy motion.
Dustin Pedroia sends a ground ball to the right side of the infield. Moore is there quickly to cover, and there's one away. There was a plan in place for Matt Moore and a big league debut, Ken Rosenthal, and that plan has been put into action here in a pennant stretch.
That's right, Matt. They started talking about it about a month ago, and the idea is to use Matt Moore the way the Rays used David Price down the stretch in 2008, out of the bullpen. Now, Joe Maddon had never seen Matt Moore actually pitch until the other night in Baltimore when he made his major league debut. That's how fresh-faced this kid is. He was the talk among scouts at the Futures game during All-Star Week.
Here's Adrian Gonzalez to face him now with one away. I think the fact that they brought him up, and it's been such a sight unseen thing for his manager, and Joe was quick to say this, it speaks very highly as to how Joe Maddon trusts his staff. Not only his player development guys and the guys that crunch the numbers for him, but the minor league coaching staff. It's been said that he had scouts with other organizations tell him how good they think Matt Moore is going to be. 2 balls and no strikes to Gonzalez. 3-0 now.
Three straight balls, not even close, out of the strike zone. Doesn't matter how hard you throw if you can't throw it in that across that 17-inch wide plate.
He loses Gonzalez on ball 4. So now David Ortiz.
David Ortiz, you see a young pitcher who's just thrown 4 balls in a row, so the pitches become more predictable. David will look for a fastball, and with great power the other way. Obviously, Red Sox fans are used to that. Big Papi hitting balls off the monster as he did last night.
Ortiz was hitless in 2 tries against Jeff Neiman. Neiman and the Rays' fate in the hands of the Rays bullpen here in the 6th. The starter went 5, leaves with a 4-2 lead. Look out. 95-mile-an-hour fastball made David Ortiz move quicker than he has in a while. Matt Moore certainly is a swing and miss caliber weapon out of that Rays bullpen. Big strikeout numbers the last 2 years in the minors, and yes, that's minor league baseball, but in 2009 he led all of minor league baseball in strikeouts as you take a look at Josh Reddick on deck. In 2010 he became the first minor leaguer to strike out more than 200 since Francisco Liriano in 2005.
Yeah, but in the minor leagues they swing at balls. In the major leagues they make you throw strikes. 7 out of 8 pitches out of the strike zone.
Ortiz a little late on a fastball. He fouls it away. Depending on which gun you believe, that was either 96 or 97 miles an hour. Full count, 3 balls and 2 strikes.
You mean all guns are not the same?
Apparently not. Gonzalez not being held at first, and the 3-2 home to Ortiz misses for ball 4. Back-to-back 1-out walks.
Take a look at the sequence and give you an idea of how far Matt Moore was missing to David Ortiz. First pitch. Second pitch way inside. Way outside with a breaking ball. The 2-1 pitch down low. The 3-1 pitch is a strike. But on 3-2, way out of the strike zone.
So Jim Hickey comes out for a conversation after the walk to David Ortiz. David Ortiz and Jim Hickey are unlikely pals, but we're told there is a relationship there, with one at first base and one on his way back into the visitors' dugout. Ken Rosenthal, I can't wait to hear what this connection is.
Well, Matt, I don't know about a relationship, but David Ortiz pulled me aside at the batting cage yesterday and grew animated, making the point, unsolicited, that Jim Hickey deserves a lot more credit than he gets. He said there's something special about him. He praised several Rays pitchers for coming very far in their development. And then he said to me, hey, these guys, they throw any pitch in any count for a strike. All of them do that. And he was practically screaming when he said all of them.
Well, we'll see if Jim Hickey's tutelage can get through to young Matt Moore here. Runners at first and second with 1 gone. 1-1 to Josh Reddick. Reddick has walked and singled so far today. Terry Francona's Red Sox cannot be counted out. The 1-1. Broke his bat, rolled her to second base. Zobrist to Brignac. And the relay to first is not in time. Reed Brignac really could not put a lot on that throw because he had big David Ortiz right in his face.
Yeah, well, most broken bat ground balls, you're not going to turn a double play anyway. The ball was not hit hard enough. Too much to do and not enough time to do it as Reddick beats the play.
So a fielder's choice play puts runners at the corners now. With 2 gone, it'll be Jared Saltalamacchia.
Matt, we've already seen Desmond Jennings score on a short, wild pitch from third base. Adrian Gonzalez is not a fast runner, but with a guy as wild as Matt Moore, it's been tough for Lobaton to handle him up to this point.
97-mile-an-hour fastball fouled back. Saltalamacchia batting from the right side of the plate for the first time tonight. He's got Gonzalez and Reddick aboard with 2 gone. Jared, a .215 hitter right-handed, .261 from the left side of the plate this year. Part of the blueprint for Matt Moore has been the David Price story from 2008, and that's something that Ken Rosenthal alluded to a moment ago. Price coming up after a brief but dominant turn in the minors. Saltalamacchia falls behind 1-2. There was no book on David Price in 2008. Not a lot of head-to-head looks at him. Hard-throwing left-hander who dominated through the American League Championship Series. The hope was that Matt Moore would be that same kind of secret weapon in 2011. As such, Joe Madden has put David Price, quote unquote, on Matt Moore, shepherding him around the big leagues, working on how to prepare his sponsor, if you will. 2 balls and 2 strikes. And it was David Price, a guy who knows a little bit something about throwing hard, Tim, that said this is the easiest 96 miles an hour I've ever seen when talking about Matt Moore.
Of course, David Price has developed more pitches as he has spent more time in the big leagues, but right now Matt Moore, just a fastball.
Popped into shallow center field. Zobrist is back, and Matt Moore survives a pair of walks to pitch a scoreless bottom of the 6th. We'll return after a word from your local Fox station. Sunday pregame show. Michael Strahan sits down for a one-on-one interview with Bears linebacker Brian Urlacher. Plus, Jimmy Johnson will break down Cowboys quarterback Tony Romo's ability to make decisions in the clutch. It's all coming up on the Fox NFL Sunday pregame show tomorrow, noon Eastern, 9 Pacific, right here on Fox. Back to baseball, and Brandon Guyer leads things off in the Tampa Bay 7th. It'll be Guyer, Lobaton, and Desmond Jennings. Back with Tim McCarver, Matt Vasgersian, 4-2 Rays. Red Sox had an opportunity in the 6th with 2 runners aboard, but rookie left-hander Matt Moore was able to wiggle off the hook. Line right to third for Mike Aviles. 1 gone for John Lester. Tomorrow on Fox NFL Sunday, the Bears coming off their impressive Week 1 win head to New Orleans to take on the Saints. 2 of the NFC's best teams collide. Or the Seahawks and Steelers, Bucks Vikings, Cardinals Redskins, or Packers Panthers. Or the Cowboys look to bounce back from a tough loss as they battle the Niners in San Francisco. Coverage begins with the Fox NFL Sunday pregame show, noon Eastern, 9 Pacific. Here's Jose Lobaton now with 1 away. John Lester, Tim, able to get his Red Sox into the 7th inning, albeit so far on the bad end of the score. But just getting deep into games has been a stretch for the Sox starting staff in the month of September.
Josh Beckett went 6 innings last night, and John Lester into his 7th. Even though he trails, he's pitched okay, giving up 4 runs through 6 1/3.
2 balls and a strike to Jose Lobaton.
You know, the fact of the matter is, you're not going to go out there all the time and just dazzle major league lineups. Sometimes you're going to have to struggle, and John Lester struggled his last 2 times out. More so today. Now, last Sunday, we've talked about it, throwing 4 innings, 111 pitches, took the loss in that game in St. Pete. But he's faring much better today.
This would be just the 2nd time in September that a Red Sox starter has gone deeper than 6 innings in a start.
That gives you an idea of how depleted their starting pitching staff
is. It is Terry Francona's deepest quandary. Got a doubleheader to try to figure out next week as well.
Yeah, he said, I know John Lackey's pitching the 2nd game, but don't ask me about anything else.
2 gone as Lobaton swings and misses. 2 away for Lester in the 7th.
Tell from that grip, that's a cut fastball outside part of the plate to get Lobaton.
Back to the top of the order now, Desmond Jennings, who is 1 for 2 with a walk. He has scored 2 of Tampa Bay's 4 runs today. And Jennings takes a strike. Behind quickly, 0-2. John Lester trying to retire his 7th in a row here and get through the 7th inning. 1-2-3. Boston will have the bottom of the order in the bottom of the 7th inning. You mentioned Josh Beckett yesterday, able to go 6 innings. And all eyes were on Josh Beckett, not since Curt Schilling's sock has there been so much attention on a Red Sox ankle. And Beckett answered yesterday. But I don't think too many folks around here wanted to envision the next 2.5 weeks without Josh Beckett. Two balls and 2 strikes. The count to Desmond Jennings. Tried to check it, but goes around. Couple of strikeouts for John Lester in a scoreless 7th. He has retired 7 in a row. 15% or more on car insurance. And by Warner Brothers Pictures' Dolphin Tale in theaters September 23rd. Aerial coverage this afternoon provided by DirecTV. Get the best offer of the year. Call 1-800-DirecTV. Matt Moore continues his second inning of relief this afternoon. He gets Carl Crawford to lead off the Boston 7th. It'll be Crawford, Aviles, and Scutaro for the Red Sox. 2 balls and no strikes from the rookie left-hander.
And no one warming for the Rays in their bullpen. I'm a little surprised at that. 2 right-handers to follow.
All the credentials are there. All the numbers at the minor league level were there, including no hitter that Matt Moore pitched in Double-A this year. But it is a lot to put on a young kid to make his first set of major league appearances in a stretch drive when you're trying to catch a wild card team down by 4 with 12 left. Three balls and a strike to Carl Crawford. Make it 3-2. Come on back, Carl.
I think Carl thought it was low, and he may have had a point. That ball looked low. So a break for the Rays.
Right-hander Scott Atchison's up in the bullpen behind John Lester. That has fouled off one of the masks behind home plate. We know which one now.
Tough way to make a living.
Carl Crawford's got his second base knock of the night. A reminder to catch all the action of the 2011 postseason on Fox and TBS. It all begins Friday, September 30th with the Division Series on TBS. Season ending on a Wednesday for the first time in many of our memories. Mike Aviles now with the leadoff hitter aboard. Third time that Boston has put its leadoff hitter on base. Aviles has doubled and struck out today. The strikeout came looking back in the 5th. There have been 11 strikeouts today on both sides of the scorecard combined, and 5 of those have been looking. Marco Scutaro waiting next with 1 out and 1 on and nobody out, rather. Weakly hit to shortstop. Brignac's got to hurry. Not in time at first base. An infield single for Mike Aviles.
Well, the one thing Terry Francona told us before the game is Aviles runs a lot better than people think, and he proves it right here. That pitch outside off the plate. He was going toward first base, so a good jump out of the batter's box. And Aviles with an infield hit. You have an interesting situation here. We talked about sacrifices in the Red Sox earlier. Do you bunt with Scutaro here? I mean, last night, Aviles tried to do that first and second, nobody out. And Longoria came in to double up Aviles on a bunt play. We'll see if he tries that again. I think Scutaro will be bunting here.
He shortens up and pulls back, taking ball 1. We saw Daniel Bard up a moment ago. He has joined Scott Atchison in the bullpen for the Red Sox.
And still no one up for the Rays.
Scutaro shortens up again and takes a strike. Scutaro was 0 for 1. He sacrificed against Jeff Neiman. It is for Jeff Neiman. And Matt Moore and company are trying to hang on to this 2-run lead. Red Sox have runners at first and second with nobody out here in the seventh. 2 balls and a strike. We're so conditioned to posting scores regarding the New York Yankees whenever there's a Red Sox game being played. The bunt gets down. Longoria to second. They cut down the middleman.
Same as last night. Last night with Avila's bunting. Runners on at first and second, nobody out. His first time up in the second inning. Longoria turned to double play, going second to first base. And tonight he goes to second base to get the middle runner. So now the tying run is at first base and not second. Excellent play by Longoria.
We welcome those of you joining us who just got through watching the Atlanta Braves shut out the New York Mets. Tim Hudson and Craig Kimbrell combining on a gem. Here in Boston, Matt Vasgersian, Ken Rosenthal, Chris Rose, Tim McCarver. Runners at the corners with 1 away. Red Sox down 2. Top of the order now for Jacoby Ellsbury representing the go-ahead run. Working against the rookie left-hander Matt Moore, making just his second ever major league appearance. And Ellsbury tried to check the swing, falls behind 0-1.
And Ellsbury goes too far.
Ellsbury has driven in a run this afternoon, had a sacrifice fly against Jeff Neiman in the third. That was part of a 2-run rally by the Red Sox, which at the time had narrowed their deficit to a 3-2 margin. Boston has never led in this one. Rays jumped on top of John Lester early with a 2-run home run in the first. That one gets away from Lobaton, a free 90 feet for Scudero.
So in effect, the sacrifices worked. Second and third and 1 out. The Red Sox got what they wanted.
It's going to be charged as a wild pitch to Lobaton, but I think if you look at that again, that's a ball the Rays would have preferred and probably hoped Jose Lobaton could have made a play in blocking.
Well, it's a tough play, though. You're never anticipating a fastball in the dirt. That's always the toughest ball to block. Listen, this young guy is tough to catch. Often if you're young and throw that hard, if you're tough to hit, you're tough to catch.
J.P. Howell's up in the bullpen for the Rays. After Dustin Pedroia, who's due up next, it's Gonzalez, Ortiz, and Reddick. Left, left, left. On the ground is shortstop. Brignac gets it over to first to retire Ellsbury. Scoring from third is Crawford to make it once again a 1-run ball game. Scudero advances to third. Well, as was the case earlier, it's a 1-run game once again. Your game summary for those just joining us. Ben Zobrist did a 2-run home run against John Lester in the first. Jeff Neiman, who's had terrific success against the Red Sox all year long, went 5 and left with the lead. And Tampa Bay had their 6-game winning streak against the Red Sox snapped with a loss last night. Here's Dustin Pedroia now. Again on the line this afternoon. The difference between a 3- and a 5-game lead in the American League wildcard race for the Red Sox over the Rays. Boston able to slow the roll yesterday. The Rays have been the hottest team in the American League the last 2 weeks as Pedroia falls behind 0-2.
Again, Scudero, representing the tying run at third base, will be alive and kind of cheating toward home plate for a short, wild pitch pass ball, particularly with the young Matt Moore pitching.
A swing and a miss. The foul tip hung on to. Matt Moore yields a run, but nothing further. We played 7 complete. 4-3 Tampa Bay. Excursion. It has been a nip and tuck affair throughout. Neither team able to run away and hide, as the biggest lead tonight by either side has been 2. In fact, when I say either side, it's just been the Rays. Boston has never led in this ball game. 4-3 Rays as B.J. Upton leads things off in the top of the 8th. A pitching change for the Red Sox. John Lester gone after 7. Replaced by hard-throwing right-hander Daniel Bard, whose first pitch to Upton is hit high in the air out to center, and there's one away. Daniel Bard had struggled in September. Those struggles certainly turned around with an impressive outing leading to a win last night.
Gary Tuck, the bullpen coach for the Red Sox, told Daniel Bard that he wasn't throwing his changeup enough. And last night, Bard came in, he threw the changeup, he threw the breaking ball, and that set him up against the Rays, striking out 2 and retiring the side in order in the 8th inning. Here he is again in the 8th.
Here's Evan Longoria now. Longoria has singled in a run and walked today. Look at Bard's numbers against the Rays. They've been very good despite the loss as far as the decisions are concerned.
Goodness. That's unfair, that breaking ball. Wicked breaking ball from Bard. You get a red-hot hitter with a swing like that, and that gives you an idea of what kind of pitch it was.
It's got Longoria behind 0-2. The September numbers for Bard, as you take a look at Ben Zobrist waiting on deck, really had the Red Sox concerned. He had given up 9 earned runs in 5 2/3 innings this month before the scoreless outing last night. 3 blown saves and 3 losses in the month of September alone. And this is a guy out of that Red Sox bullpen who through 51 games had delivered a 1.76 ERA and set a club record with 25 scoreless appearances. That's how heavily they had relied upon Daniel Bard. Crucial 8th inning setup man for Jonathan Papelbon, who you saw dancing around a moment ago. But Ken Rosenthal, probably the most refreshing sight, the best thing that Terry Francona could have hoped for yesterday was the Daniel Bard of early season down the stretch.
Absolutely, Matt. And I spoke with Bard yesterday before that impressive outing, and he wasn't worried. He said there was a timing issue in his delivery. He was going to be fine. Saw him again this morning, and he said, hey, everyone else was concerned. I was okay.
3 balls and 2 strikes to Evan Longoria. Well, the guy that everybody assumes is in line to become the Boston closer should Jonathan Papelbon be allowed to walk away after this, the final year of his contract. That important 8th inning man right now. Little flare out to shallow right. Pedroia read it well off the bat, and there are 2 away. Visit Lowe's to pick up your instant win game card for a chance to win World Series tickets. Compliments of Scott's. Well, the last 9 Rays hitters have all been retired in order, and now it's Ben Zobrist. And that's Joel Peralta up for Tampa Bay. Ball and no strikes, the count to Ben Zobrist, whose home run in the first came with a man on, his 16th of the year. You can see why, with Bard and Papelbon, the Red Sox have such overwhelming numbers when they lead late in a ball game.
You got Bard in the 8th and Papelbon in the 9th. Papelbon has just been unbelievable for the last 2 months. Only five hits by Papelbon, allowed by Papelbon in the last 22 innings.
Ball and 2 strikes, the count to Ben Zobrist.
Bard again using his breaking ball very effectively.
Wrapped to first. Gonzalez has got it. Red Sox pitching has retired the last 10 Tampa batters to come to the plate. Gonzalez makes the final out in the top of the 8th. He'll lead off the bottom half with the Red Sox down a run. sponsored by DirecTV. Now get DirecTV's best offer of the year. And by Travelers, insurance for auto, home, and business. Adrian Gonzalez leads off the home eighth. With 3-4-5 batters for Boston, Gonzalez, Ortiz, and Reddick. And it is still the rookie left-hander Matt Moore on the mound for Tampa Bay.
There is no doubt about it. I mean, Joe Maddon said, I'm bringing him in, and I'm going to pitch him for 3 innings. The left-handed laden lineup of the Red Sox dictates that Matt Moore stays in the game right now. 3 lefties coming up, and they're all tough.
Moore has walked 2, given up 2 base hits. He has allowed 1 run. And still holds the 1-run lead. David Ortiz waiting next. His group of hitters all faced Matt Moore in the 6th inning. Gonzalez drew a base on balls. I mean, this is his 2nd major league appearance.
Unprecedented. It really is. But what are your options?
2-2.
You know, if Kyle Farnsworth were healthy, he'd be the 9th inning guy, and you'd bring Peralta in the 8th. But Kyle Farnsworth isn't healthy. So therefore, they're going with Moore against the left-handers here in the 8th inning and use Peralta to close it.
96-mile-an-hour fastball that Gonzalez tries to get on top of. 2 balls and 2 strikes.
You know, Matt, you can always tell a starting pitcher in a relief role because he's winding up. Matt Moore is not pitching from the stretch with nobody on.
A swing and a miss. He strikes out Adrian Gonzalez to start the 8th.
Well, the sequence to Adrian Gonzalez is more the location, not the pitch. They're all fastballs. Fastball fouled away. Fastball fouled away. With the count 0-2, Moore misses with a breaking ball and a breaking ball. And then the fastball fouled away. Another fastball gets Gonzalez.
Now David Ortiz. He too drew a walk against Moore in the 6th inning. And Moore this time starts him with a strike and starts him with a breaking ball.
Yep.
Swing and a miss. 97 that time.
Up around the letters. Nobody's going to hit that pitch.
A ball and 2 strikes to David Ortiz. That last half inning in particular, and Tim, you and I talked about it, with Dustin Pedroia batting. And given the fact that Moore had given up the 2 hits in the run, to leave him out there.
Yep.
Not only leave him out there, if he looks over his shoulder, he's going to see the rest of that bullpen sitting down. There was nobody behind him.
Yeah, that's right. Nobody was warming up. Joe Maddon had made up his mind. You can make more of a case leaving Moore in this inning than you can allowing him to pitch to Pedroia last inning with the tying run on 3rd base.
2 balls and 2 strikes to David Ortiz, who, by the way, has come a long way this year, balancing out the splits against left-handed pitching. Swing and a high drive to deep right field. Geyer's on the move in front of the Boston bullpen. It's Upton that makes the catch.
That's a cold weather fly ball right there. In the middle of summer, it could have been out of here. But Upton squeezes it.
And there are 2 gone in the 8th. And there were about 40,000 people standing up. Like you, by the way. You were one of the 40,000.
I was. I was. It got me. It got me out of my chair.
Connor Jackson is going to pinch hit now with 2 away. So Terry Francona will go to a right-handed hitting option here with 2 away.
Here comes Jim Hickey. Pardon me, Matt.
Jim Hickey with perhaps a little scouting report refresher on Connor Jackson.
You know what? I don't think he is mentioning a scouting report.
What is this? Just I'm going to come out and talk to the infielders.
I'm a guy. Look, just stick with your fastball. Throw the ball in an area of about a foot. Anywhere in the strike zone. When you're throwing 97 miles an hour, anywhere in the strike zone is good enough.
Well, Terry Francona goes to his bench now. One of his right-handed hitting options, Connor Jackson, acquired in a below-the-radar deal with the Oakland A's. And for the very purpose that you could argue Mike Aviles was acquired. Have some of those complementary pieces available when you need them down the stretch. And it's a ball and a strike to the former Arizona Diamondback and Oakland A, Connor Jackson. Jackson was acquired on the final day such a trade could be consummated at the end of August. As you take a look at Jonathan Papelbon and Franklin Morales up. Just his 8th appearance with the Red Sox.
Yeah, I think Morales will be the pitcher if the Red Sox do not at least tie it. And Papelbon, certainly if they go ahead, maybe if they tie it.
Two to Jackson has popped up. Longoria on the left side of the infield yields to Brignac. Matt Moore, a scoreless bottom of the 8th. To lead by a run and some changes for the Red Sox. Darnell McDonald takes over in right field. Josh Reddick had been pinch hit for by Connor Jackson last half inning, and Franklin Morales takes over on the mound. The Boston left-hander worked in game 1 of this series here on Thursday night and gave up a couple of earned runs with 2 hits and a walk on his line in just an inning of work. They'll get Johnny Damon to lead things off in the 9th. Damon, Brignac, and Kochman.
Yeah, like the Red Sox in the bottom of the 8th inning, the Rays have 3 left-handers with Brignac inserted here in the top of the 9th. And what a shot that is. Man, that's pretty.
Around twilight here on a very fall-feeling evening in New England. First pitch to Johnny Damon's in for a strike. A win tonight, and the Rays go to bed down only 3 in the American League wildcard race, with one more head-to-head with the Red Sox this series tomorrow afternoon. After today, 11 games left for both teams. And Johnny Damon has a base hit back up the middle. Here is today's Burger King mini moment, brought to you by Burger King and the all-new BK Burger and Chicken Minis. And it came in the top half of the 3rd. Desmond Jennings scoring on a wild pitch and a ball that really didn't get very far away from Jared Saltalamacchia. That made it at the time a 3-0 lead.
Outstanding base running by the young Desmond Jennings.
Here's Reed Brignac now with the leadoff hitter aboard.
You'll see a bunt attempt here.
Brignac came on defensively and took over for Sean Rodriguez. He squares around and pops it up. Gonzalez can't handle it. The throw to first, and they get Brignac.
What a great play. They got to make the tag of Damon at second base. But Adrian Gonzalez intentionally allowed that ball to drop. Had Damon stayed at first base, he's still there. Or did Brignac? I guess he was safe at first.
Brignac safe at first base.
Yeah, that's right. I thought for a moment it was a double play.
As did I.
But Brignac alertly running hard to first base, and he is safe. But it was a heads-up good play by Adrian Gonzalez. I mean, at the very worst, you're going to get the lead runner. But Brignac running hard made it an effective play for the Rays, even though the sack didn't work.
So here now is Casey Kochman, who takes a strike. Kochman hitless tonight. Brandon Guyer waiting next for the Rays. Small sample size, but Casey Kochman has some success on his line against Franklin Morales, 2 for 5 with a home run. As Joe Peralta heats back up once again in the Rays bullpen. When Boston bats in the bottom of the 9th, they'll have the 6, 7, 8 batters. Saltalamacchia, Crawford, and Aviles. And Morales trying to get him there with just the 1 run as the deficit. Ball and 2 strikes. The count to Casey Kochman.
Can't say enough about the young Matt Moore and his 3 innings of work in his second major league appearance. Unbelievable.
And a balk has been called on Franklin Morales.
Called by Jerry Lane, the first base umpire. He's the crew chief, and he called it immediately. Can't deceive the runner, and that's what Morales did. Yeah, he didn't step toward first. Good call by Jerry Lane.
So Brignac in scoring position now for Kochman with a 1-2 count. A reminder, you can take live MLB games with you when you download the At Bat app at the App Store. And a foul tip that Saltalamacchia can't hang on to. Still 1-2. Again tomorrow, the series finale. David Price and Tim Wakefield tomorrow afternoon. Joe Maddon intimated this when we talked to him earlier today. We absolutely have to win the next two. He led you to believe strongly that he feels that way. For the Red Sox, after this series, Baltimore comes to town for 3. And then it's 3 in New York, 3 in Baltimore to wrap up the year. For the Rays, they have a much better opportunity, albeit a more difficult one, to control their own fate. After this series with the Red Sox, 2 with the Yankees, 3 with Toronto, and 3 more with the Yankees.
Last 6 games at home.
Kochman chops it over the mound, and Scudero throws him out. Brignac to third. There are 2 away. Check in with Chris Rose in a DirecTV game break.
Guys, great game in Atlanta between the Mets and the Braves. Tim Hudson was on. He struck out 10 along the way. Bottom of 8, the lone run coming off the bat by Chipper Jones. That made it 1-0 Atlanta, and the outstanding rookie Craig Kimbrell made it stick up. Strikes out Jason Bay to end it, his National League leading 45th save. And now the Braves lead the Cardinals by 4 games in the National League wild card chase. Matt and Tim?
Boy, if you're one of mine that thinks that Joe Maddon's a slam dunk for American League Manager of the Year, I think you have to believe that Craig Kimbrell can shut it down today and win National League Rookie of the Year honors.
Yeah.
45 saves. Wow. And here's Brandon Guyer now with a runner at third and 2 away.
More than any other tandem, the Atlanta tandem of the left-hander Venters and the right-hander Kimbrell can shorten a game more than any of the postseason teams. Philadelphia, Arizona, Milwaukee are in the American League. The Red Sox, Yankees, Tampa Bay, whomever it may be. Detroit. Of course, Detroit, Jose Valverde is now 45 for 45 in saves. But with that left-right tandem in Atlanta, they can shorten the game better than anyone.
Guyer one-hops it out to short. Pedroia throws him out. A runner left stranded. We're going to the bottom of the 9th. Back to Major League Baseball on Fox, presented by Chevrolet. Aerial coverage this afternoon leading into tonight, provided by DirecTV. To get the best offer of the year, call 1-800-DirecTV. Some changes to post as we go to the bottom of the ninth in a one-run game. Sam Fuld, the New England native, takes over in right field for the Rays. And Joel Peralta takes over on the mound. Jared Saltalamacchia leads things off for the Red Sox. Saltalamacchia, Crawford, and Aviles. As Tim's already documented, with Kyle Farnsworth unavailable, Peralta closing here at this crucial stretch for Tampa Bay. He has a pair of saves since August 27th and 3 total for the season. Prior to 2011, Peralta's last save had come in July of 2007 as a Royal. Whoever's been closing, the Rays have been terrific with late leads, as those numbers indicate. The one loss came to the Royals earlier this year. A ball and a strike to Jared Saltalamacchia.
As we mentioned earlier, Kyle Farnsworth not in this role as he normally is because of a sore elbow. One of the great strengths of Joel Peralta, his effectiveness against left-handed hitters, holding them to a 149 average this year, second lowest in the majors.
A strike to put Saltalamacchia behind 1-2. So the switch hitting Saltalamacchia batting left, the left-handed hitting Crawford next, and then the right-handed hitter Aviles in the hold. Four runs on 6 hits for Tampa Bay, 3 runs on 6 hits for the Red Sox. Is missed, and it's 2-2. Peralta tonight is making his career high 67th appearance of the season. That puts him second on the AL leaderboard in that category. Been a tough afternoon, evening for Jared Saltalamacchia, 0 for 4 with 3 strikeouts. Rays once again have him in the shift. Got him. Correction, the second time Saltalamacchia has struck out tonight.
High fastball got him. So Saltalamacchia down on strikes once again. If Crawford could get on for the Red Sox, then you have the threat of a stolen base with a right-handed pitcher on the mound.
So now Carl Crawford. The X-Ray has a couple of base hits and 2 of Boston's 3 runs scored tonight. Well, it had been easy to blame starting pitching for the Red Sox recent skids. That has not been the case in games 2 and 3 of this series. Josh Beckett was terrific yesterday. John Lester threw the ball well enough to keep the Red Sox in the ball game tonight. 2 balls and no strikes now. The count to Carl Crawford. And tomorrow they're going to be leaning on Tim Wakefield. Base is empty with 1 gone. 2 balls and no strikes to Crawford. 2-1. Well, if you were to tell the folks down in Tampa, St. Pete, on opening day, after enduring a season in which they lost so much of their marquee talent, that they'd be taking a wild card race down to the last handful of games in the regular season this year. You might get some strange looks.
Boy, that is so true. The Rays losing their top 6 salaried players from last year.
And the mad scientist Joe Madden just kept tinkering.
Yep.
2 balls and 2 strikes to Carl Crawford. Got him. Peralta dropped the changeup across, and Crawford strikes out. There are 2 away in the ninth.
After getting even with the count, he catches Crawford way out in front. 2 straight balls with breaking balls, and then 2 fastballs for strike, and then that terrific changeup to get Crawford out in front.
So now last night's Boston hero, Mike Aviles. Aviles' first home run in a Red Sox uniform yesterday proved the game winner in a 4-3 final score. It's the Rays trying to hold on by that same margin today. Nothing in 1 to Mike Aviles. Oh, it used to be that you would say, boy, poor Tampa Bay Rays, or poor Tampa Bay Devil Rays back in the day. They have to play in a division with the 2 monsters, the Yankees and the Red Sox. How are they ever going to survive that? Knocked down by Zobrist. The tying runs aboard on an infield single by Mike Aviles.
Boy, that is great hitting by Mike Aviles. That is a tough pitch. Low and away. It may have been off the plate. Aviles looking in that area. A dive by Zobrist, but no chance to get Aviles. Check that pitch out. That is good hitting by Aviles.
A pinch runner at first base now, as Joey Gathright, after a notable absence in the big leagues, will pinch run at first with 2 gone. His comeback story is an interesting one, Ken Rosenthal.
With the Independent League Yuma Scorpions had just ended when the Red Sox wanted to try him out. His agent, Larry Reynolds, had to throw batting practice to him in 115-degree heat. Red Sox VP Allard Baird was there. They signed him right on August 31st.
For moments, one supposes just like this. Here's Marco Scutaro now.
He can run like scorpions can bite.
Some of that postseason atmosphere we saw late last night re-emerging here at Fenway at this late hour. A ball and no strikes to Marco Scutaro.
I think the crowd is standing in memory of Dave Roberts.
That's the role that they envision Joey Gathright inheriting here. Steal that one big base in the fall, and they'll have a place for you forever.
As Roberts did in Game 4 against the Yankees in 2004. Driven in by Bill Miller to tie it. And the rest is history as the Red Sox went on to win 8 more straight games. 4 against the Yankees and 4 against the Cardinals. I beg your pardon, 4 against Colorado.
2 balls and no strikes. They count to Marco Scutaro.
Right the first time.
Kevin Millar cowboying up that postseason here as a fan tonight.
It was Millar who walked to lead off the inning against Mariano Rivera, and he was replaced by Dave Roberts.
2 balls and a strike.
Greatest comeback in baseball history. I think that's running through Kev's mind right now. You can bet on that.
Marco Scutaro again in a small sample size has numbers against Joel Peralta, 3 for 6 with a home run and 4 runs batted in. There goes Gathright. Pitch is fouled away. It's 2 balls and 2 strikes. You know, when you're Theo Epstein and the Red Sox, not only with a healthy checkbook from which to draw, but when you know you're going to be in it every year, you can afford to go out and make those little fine-tuning moves. You know, you acquire a guy like Connor Jackson on the last day before postseason rosters are put together. You go out and you find Joey Gathright, who's toiling in independent baseball to fill a specific need. The front office has made sure that Terry Francona has everything he needs to try to succeed here late in the season. Two and 2 to Scutaro. Fox tonight, from drug busts to drag racers, the men and women of law enforcement are keeping the streets safe, one criminal at a time. And all new Cops, followed by American Dad and the Cleveland Show, starting at 8/7 Central on Fox. From the sublime to the ridiculous, back to the sublime. 2 balls and 2 strikes. There goes Gathright again.
Too high a leg kick. No chance to get Gathright. Watch that high leg kick with the left leg. Too high. Gathright without a play. Now infielders playing a half a step deeper on the infield so they can knock the ball down. If you can't make a play on Scutaro, at least knock it down and keep it in the infield.
Full count to Marco Scutaro. Tying run in scoring position in the bottom of the 9th with 2 away. On the ground to third for Longoria. And the Rays are winners on this Saturday night in Boston. Tampa Bay's taken the first 2. The first 2 of 3 in this 4-game set. The Rays go to bed 3 down in the AL wildcard race with a chance to take 3 out of 4 tomorrow afternoon. We'll wrap things up from Boston right after these messages from your local Fox station.